Welcome to another episode of the Pickled Perspective and happy Halloween to everyone who celebrates. Like most people, it is one of my favorite holidays, or at least like most people over 30. It seems to be everybody's favorite holiday. So today we are going to talk about PodOps Analytics 2.0 for PodOps users. They're not 100% brand new because we launched them 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, and we've been making constant enhancements with more coming around demographics and apps in the next, hopefully, day or two. We just had a developer meeting on that this morning and things are looking good. But as it is October 31st and tomorrow is November 1st, and we are officially retiring Analytics 1.0, I did want to take a minute to just touch on some of the changes that are going to be taking place. So, one moment. If we can get my computer to do a screen share, which it's not wanting to do, not that screen. We might have to change wind. Oh, we're getting a forever loop. Hold on. Pull this over here. That did not go to plan. All right, there we go. One screen, two screen. Okay, so if you are in your PodOps account, you are going to see Analytics and Analytics 2.0. Tomorrow, you will just see Analytics, and this will be the Analytics page. What has changed? So right now, the overview tab is generally just defaulting to the last 7 days, which makes it easier for load times. You can see that my last 7 days, not very thrilling or exciting. We brought in average playtime. So this is a data piece that a lot of our podcasters want to know. So what's the difference between a play and play time? In order for something to count as a play, you have to have the podcast episode played for at least 60 seconds. So that's an IAB standard. That is not our standard. So that is something that if somebody listens to 59 seconds, that's not going to show up here, but that will begin to calculate within the average play time as you see those plays over on the right. Downloads, as you would guess, that's going to be a download of your podcast. If your users are using the share option within the embed players that we provide on your PodOps website, or even if you've used the embed player on your personal website, that's going to show up here. And then views and visitors. So, if you're familiar with Google Analytics, what we're trying to do is make it really easy for you to collect the data. So, views are eyeballs on your podcast website and those episode pages. So, that's what we're calculating here. It means a new session has been started by somebody coming to the page. And then visitors are those unique views. So, the reason these are different is because I can have multiple views by going to multiple pages. The session can be reset if I come back, within 30, 31 minutes, but I'm still just one person from one unique IP address during the time period that I've set in the upper right corner. So it's not going to count me twice as a visitor because I didn't change. At least my IP didn't change because I didn't clear my cookies. And then subscribers, these are the individuals on your PodOps website, your podcast website that we provide who have clicked on the subscribe button, they have put in their information, and they have subscribed to your website. And if you have turned on premium content, so whether you have a course, whether you're charging a monthly fee for your podcast, or you're using tipping, this is where you're going to see a summary of your earnings. You can also get much more detail on that in the monetization section over here on the left. That'll let you dig in and see exactly who's giving you either a tip, what they're subscribing to, which podcast, etc. And then let's come down here a little bit. So views and unregistered views, what is the difference? So if somebody is subscribing, we know a lot more about them because they've become a listener. So something that we relaunched earlier this quarter, as we're getting late in the year and I want to say summer, but it's fall. So a month or two back, around September, around my birthday, we relaunched the subscriber section and it's a listener portal now. So when somebody registers as a subscriber or a listener to your podcast, we're able to distinguish that individual from somebody who is not registered. So somebody who just comes to your podcast website, who listens, who plays the episode, who might download it, and we're able to separate this data for you. So that's what the difference between a view and an unregistered view are. Now, you can see down here above the chat bubble, there is this yellow cookie box. We've also switched services that track the cookies within the website. One, this company is much more widely accepted as far as what they collect. So they can get a lot more data. They're still compliant with all of the regulations. If I click, I want to choose, you can see all of the data if you want to dig into that. I obviously accept all because I want them to track it so I can report it. But that also helps with the unregistered views to give us as much data as we can possibly get to report back to you. So similar with your visitors, downloads, shares. Obviously, with my podcast here, there's not a ton to see, but it gives you the general idea. And then if we come into the podcast tab, again, I've only got it set here to the last 7 days. You can change the time period for any of the tabs. If you go overall, that is the entirety of whatever data is available for your podcast. So if you've been with us for multiple years, it's going to pull all that data, which can take a moment. You can do last 30 days, the previous month, this month, custom range, etc. And then you're going to see your podcast and it's ordered by number of listens. And then you can see the episode title, which we do abbreviate here. My screen is really wide, so it stretches. But for smaller screens, that's why we do abbreviate the title. And then when you come down here into the chart, you can mouse over and that will give you a little more data there. There you go. You can see at the top, I get the full number of plays for that episode and can see its title. I can change the podcast. So if I open the menu here, right now I've got it set to all podcasts. So you can see the Pickled Perspective here is at the top. Then it goes into the PodOps Media Marketing Podcast and the Pickled Perspective again at the bottom. So it will pull in everything if I ask it to, but you can change that to be specific to podcasts. And then similar with the trends, it's set to all podcasts by default. I can say all episodes, I can select specific episodes, and I can change the date range. And then again, I've got these charts that are going to give me data based on whatever I've selected at the top. And obviously, you can see I test a lot. So I've got things like new toggle test. Obviously, that's not a real episode, but it was a test I did, and there it is because you can see how I viewed it. And then episode performance with these ones, because it is mainly a test account, there's no data in that particular chart. And then geographic. So this is going to tell you where your listeners are coming from based on their country and their city. Again, this really ties to, are they a listener who has provided that information within their account, or are they um, a non-registered listener who is providing it through cookies? If they are not providing it through either and we can't track that, it will show up as unknown. But you can see most of my individual listeners are in the US, in the city Mountain View, and then you can mouse over the cities to see those specific numbers. And as the countries get darker, so you can see Brazil, there's a few listeners there in the testing. We also kind of can cheat for my testing and use a VPN to run tests from different countries. But the color, there's a legend down in the lower right. So the light blue, like here in Antarctica, I have no listeners. That's not a surprise. And then you can see that the darker blues show more and more listeners. The demographics and app sections, if you currently go there, you're going to see a coming soon. These two sections are nearly complete. The apps are things like Apple, Spotify, etc. We've been working with those to get that data pulled in so that we don't have to send you to their individual websites to get the data, because we know that that's not everybody's favorite thing. And then demographics, this is thing like household income. Do you have pets? So those kinds of things. You'll also see that information is in your profile now. So if you come into your profile in the upper right corner, you can also enrich your own podcast data for other listeners. So we've enhanced it so you can also subscribe to podcasts. So you can see I recently viewed this podcast. Obviously, it's mine, not a big shock. And then you can subscribe to podcasts and they'll appear down here at the bottom of your own profile. And you can easily get to them by clicking view. And if I want to say I've got cats, I've got dogs, I can select a gender. Um, there's email. Now, you might be wondering, why is my name not pulling in from here? So these are actually different name fields. We will not go into how a database this is set up, but they are a little bit different. That's why those don't pull in. But this information now will be available into those report metrics that we just talked about. This is optional. You do not have to do this if you don't want to, but it is there within your new profile. And you can see we've enhanced this section as well just to make it look more appealing and easier to use. And we've also cleaned up all of your subscriptions so the page is shorter and easier to manage. So that's pretty much it. One thing to be aware of, the Analytics 1.0 section will be going away tomorrow. So I'm not going to say exactly at midnight, but expect that it's gone at midnight Eastern time, US Eastern time. Um, Anything that you might want in there, you'll probably want to go and screenshot it. The views are the only data point that we did not port over. And those would be the website views here. And the reason we have not ported that over is, and if I can just do, I don't think I have any views today, but oh, I got a couple there. There we go. So the reason we didn't port over the views is because in order to be as in line with IAB standards as possible to sort out all the bots, there was no way to go back and adjust that. So we needed to start with a clean slate. So all other data ported over, so downloads, shares, etc., but not the views, and those were specific to the podcast website. So that did start counting fresh in, I want to say August. I can't think of the exact date off the top of my head. I would have to look that up in the database, but we did start tracking it before we went live with the new analytics section so that we could give as much data as possible. But if there's a number in there that you want, you're going to have to download it. Once it goes offline tomorrow, that will not be available and we won't be able to retrieve that for you. So just a heads up on that. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. So thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, please reach out. Ooh, actually, one more tidbit. We have changed also the chatbot help section, whatever you want to call this. So with support, and we'll go into this more later, but I did want to call this out. Um, the chatbot is more than just a chatbot now. So this is where you can go to create a ticket. You can still email us, but these are actually integrated together now. So when you create a ticket, it will also be in here so that you can track your tickets within the chatbot. So this will make life easier, or should make it easier for everyone. Or you can go ahead, ask a question. It does start with a chatbot, and then it will, if you get stuck, as long as it's during working hours, it can switch you over to a human. And we'll have little news items like you can see our upcoming event on November 12th. Is that the correct Thursday? It's a week from today, or 2 weeks from today, November 14th, sorry, is our next free workshop. So this will help you connect with that. And then we'll be pushing other news items out here. We are going to be transitioning the entire knowledge base over to the new intercom system. So that will change this help section as well. So be sure to leverage it. There was a question about, can you not engage with a chatbot? No, unfortunately, there is no way you cannot engage with a chatbot because generally that expedites the process. You can engage with a human, but you do have to work with the chatbot first to help alleviate stress as far as getting those tickets resolved, especially for minor things. All right, so that's really everything. So definitely check out the new analytics. If you need something from the Analytics 1.0, make sure you get that as soon as possible. It's going offline tonight. And happy Halloween, and we will talk to you next week. Have a great day, everybody.